There he is.
Finally.
Jesus.
Sorry.
You left me sweating. How are you?
Fine, and you?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. As I said, you really left me sweating. I was sitting here and I thought that maybe I messed up with the time zones or anything.
Yeah. No, we're on the same time zone, so sorry. I don't know. It doesn't work really well at the time I was trying to join. So
yeah, but thankfully now you're here. So yeah, hi Pascal. Thanks a lot for taking some time off and to join me in this talk or in the stream. So yeah, I think just we get right in. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what exactly it is you're doing?
Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank you, for what you are doing with All Cities Are Beautiful and your sensitivity and taste. Because
Thanks.
photographer like us or artists, like we need kind of platform like yours. So thank you for what you are doing. Honestly, yeah, really, because we need it. And when it's made by people like person like you, it's even better. So thanks. Yeah, yeah. It was important for me to say that. So
cool. Thank you.
And also for the support, because I remember that you supported my Kickstarter to try to finance the end of the production of the book. So
yeah,
you was like sharing some information quite often. So thank you again for that.
Yeah, sure. I'm trying my best to support in any way I can, and so yeah, thanks again, much appreciated.
And so so I'm a filmmaker, a photographer, self-taught. I mean, I didn't make studies. I didn't follow any formation or schools. I tried to enter a school like 20 years ago, but I didn't was accepted. So I started to do it by myself, inspiring by some of my friends who are graphic designer, photographers, filmmakers. So I just was experimented and be curious on it. And I first of all started in the fashion. I was like, I started like years ago, like 20 years ago as a model, but I was mostly behind organizing like some stuff for the Swiss fashion, because I'm living in Switzerland. And when I was doing like all those fashion shows, I was trying to, because I like the design and I like the stylism. With a friend of mine called Charlie Ronimi, we created a web platform called fashionshow.ch, where at the time, because there was not a lot of website dedicated to the fashion 20 years ago, we tried to put together in our platform the work of all the Swiss fashion designers. So they send it to us like some picture of the universe of the clothes, and we put it together on our website. And continuing that, we started to film fashion shows, to create like fashion music videos. And in the early 2000s, we made a kind of special DVD with kind of documentary about Swiss fashion, stuff like that, with fashion shows, those music videos, some visual. We were working with Swiss artists in music. And with that, we started to organize fashion show abroad, like in New York. We organized a big show in Tokyo during the Fashion Week. We're kind of like ambassador for the Swiss fashion. And behind, in parallel, I always like taking pictures and making films. I started with like a Video 8 camera from my mom, starting to making skateboard film like 25 years ago. This is how it started. My interest for the moving images. I was like kind of shocked in a good way when I discovered those Video 8, like those tapes, at the time. And from that time, I was continuing by my own to do some stuff and experiments of some like skate film, basketball stuff, like little short film. This is how I started.
It's pretty interesting because I have my roots in photography date back to my skateboarding days as well. And because I used to film and take pictures, and in preparation before we went skating, I mean, I think you certainly know that, but we used to watch those skate videos and read magazines to hype us up, and then we went out skating. And so, you know, and it's basically the same because I took my camera, I took a camera from my dad and started, you know, filming and taking pictures. So this is basically my roots in photography as well.
Oh, that's funny. It's kind of same way.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
But and how, like, what was the turning point when you? I mean, I've seen some stuff on your Instagram, like fashion-related stuff, right? There are some or music videos you get as well. But what was the turning point when you decided to concentrate more on photography? Was there a turning point, like, or?
Yeah, it was a turning point because when we organized this big event in Tokyo, I was going to buy for my stylist like Polaroids, you know, for shoot the model, you know, before the show, before the fashion show for the fitting, and it was in 2007, and I discovered, you know, the mini Instax from Fuji. They were just like released at that time, 1 or 2 years before. You didn't find it in Europe at that time because I think they arrived in 2010 or 11. And I was like, oh, Polaroid was so expensive because they were already kind of bankrupt. And I discovered those mini Instax. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I buy it kind of a lot. And I also buy this cute camera, you know, the mini Instax, like Checky at that time, it was another name. And I started at the end of my show because I was like traveling after the show around Japan to kind of make a photographic project. So when we were in Tokyo, we how do you say? We keep our graphic designer called Nicolas Ducret, and at the end of the fashion show, he told me, okay, I'm going to stay 2 weeks in Tokyo, and I'm going to go abroad, I mean in Japan during 2 weeks. And we say, okay, he would like to make picture with Hasselblad, medium format, and me with this Instax. And we say, okay, when we come back from Japan, we see each other and we see if there is like kind of potential of our work. So I make picture with those mini.
It's already a great premise.
Sorry?
I said it's already a great premise.
We hope so. And when we arrived, we see that his work was mainly focused on portrait, and mine was mostly about architecture, neon, already at that time in 2007. And we asked like for a Swiss editor because it was like kind of really good library. It doesn't exist anymore about bookshops of graphic design and all the stuff. And the guy who owned the gallery was the brother of a really good publisher. The book that I offer you about architecture is the same, Infolio. And he said, you have a good project. Maybe I'm going to ask my brother. And at that time, so we started to ask Fond to do a book. And we was lucky enough to find Fond. And we make this book called Kyushu Nostalgie du Pays, which means like a melancholy of the country or nostalgia of the country. And half of the book is my friend Nicolas Ducret, and the other half is me with like those mini Instax. So that's also the proof that you can make a book not with like thousands of money of material, but only with some franc and with a plastic camera, you know. And Nicolas was making the graphic design of the book, And at the end of the book, I made like a DVD, because 2007 we still have DVDs, with a little short film that I made in Super 8 and 16 millimeter during this same trip in Japan. 15 minutes.
Where can I find those clips? Because I didn't know about those. And
you cannot find it.
You see,
it was only for the people who was buying the books. And that's funny, because I made the same thing now with my new books, Hong Kong Neon. It was just released few weeks before. At the end of the book, you don't have a DVD, but you have a QR code with a short movie that I made about neon signs, but mainly about the two masters, the two last masters that I interviewed, but also that I filmed making neon with glasses.
It's
fire
in the trailer, right?
Sorry? Exactly.
It's in the trailer.
Yeah. So some of my film are only dedicated for the people who buy my work. So it's not on internet. It's kind of a little privilege for the people who, I mean, little bonus. I like this idea. So
yeah, it's great. It's great. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's a really great premise, and it's funny to hear like how things turned out in the end, because then you know this guy and you know this guy, and like several months later you have this finished book. And starting from that project on, I mean the first Hong Kong book, I got it here because you sent it to me. This one,
thank you.
It's really beautiful. It's really beautiful. It's really well produced. I mean, of course, the works in it are amazing. Thank you again for sending it to me. Like,
my pleasure.
When I saw it, like I don't know how I saw it, but at some point, like your work showed up in my feed, and I was like, that's amazing. Like, it's really amazing. And you photographed the works in this book. You photographed them with a Fuji Polaroid as well. Did the idea for that work come from the stuff you were shooting in Japan?
The idea was coming with my second book called Seoul, Shanghai, Tokyo. This is a book with picture of those city by night, in contrast between neighborhood and modern architecture, mainly in Shanghai and in Seoul. And normally in that book, it would be like Hong Kong, Seoul, Shanghai, and Tokyo, the title. But just 1 month before going from the printing stuff, I decided with the publisher that the Hong Kong section is not so strong enough. So the publisher talked to me like 2 years after this book was out in 2009, and in 2011 he said, "Oh, I would like to do a little stuff with this Hong Kong section because I really like it." So I go back to Hong Kong in 2012, and how do you say? I fall in love with those Polaroid when I discovered that Polaroid was BEM cropped in 2010. So I buy just 1 or 2 film, and I saw that the quality is amazing. So I buy the camera 600 SE from Polaroid, which is a professional camera.
Is it the land camera? Or?
Exactly, with the big stuff like that. And I bought kind of like 2,000 or 3,000 euro of black and white and color films, because they were financing the Impossible project, you know, now with Polaroid Horizon, with the selling of the cameras and also the film. So at that time, I discovered that this black and white has an amazing quality, like really amazing. And when I come back in 2012, to make a long story short, I continuing my night photographs of Hong Kong, but a lot of people were starting to make night photographs of all the city in the world, and also Hong Kong. And Michael Wolf, who is unfortunately not from this world anymore, make a so strong and powerful work about Hong Kong that I was like, okay, so my work is not so good. And to be honest, on the day I was making picture with those black and white Polaroids, and on the night those color, and I said, okay, no, this color is not so strong, and this black and white Polaroid is so powerful. And also because I was going in the building to shoot the other building, I was seeing how the people are living, and they are living in really bad condition in Hong Kong. I mean, like, I make like a lot of studies on it. Like more than 20% of the population is under the poverty. What do you say? Poverty line.
Poverty line.
Yeah, and I find it like, okay, there is a lot of, mostly of the picture of Hong Kong are in color, because those building are in really in purple, in yellow, in green, like very colorful. But when you shoot it in black and white, it's very frontal, because you see the dramatic, real condition of Hong Kong, you know. And I also choose to make architecture photography project with the Polaroid to break the codes, the rules of the architecture photography, because normally you shoot it in medium format or in big format. And now you are 8 by 10 centimeters. So it's not, the people need to go like this, you know, to see all the details, because I repeat, this amazing film of Polaroid is full of details. So yeah, it's so sharp, but with those grain, you know, not digital. So it started like this, like to not do the same work the other photographer, and and black and white was not really exploited, and even less the Polaroid. So and I was making this job during 5 years, and I was going
the Hong Kong book.
Yeah, I was going every year for 1 month in Hong Kong, to be like deep in this process of making a topologic work of all the different architecture you can find in Hong Kong, you know. So I needed time to do it, and to do it well, because Hong Kong, it's quite big, you know. There is a lot of density, but it's quite big, and it's still difficult to go in the building, So from 2012 and 2017.
But regarding, I mean, you shot, actually I've prepared like a slideshow of your work, but I'm afraid I can't show it because we're already in split screen. So I think I will just sometimes like hold up your work from the book then.
Yeah, thanks.
So, I mean, you shot most of your work from like an elevated position, from I guess from the opposite side of a building. I mean, how? So how was it possible for you to reach this vantage point and to set up your camera exactly where you wanted it to be? Like, I mean, you mentioned before you were also in flats or in rooms of people living there. So how did this work out? Like,
it was difficult, because you need to know that on every building there is a how do you say, a guard, people in a reception, even the poor building. I don't like the word, but it's kind of reality. So, and there is like security. You cannot. You need a code. So every time I was like making like to be on the phone to not be arrested, and just go behind a person who was making the code, and go directly to the elevator, and and to go to the 15th floor, to be, because almost of the building are between the 20 and 40 floors. But as I started to ask for authorization, you know, but it was difficult for me to explain, and more difficult for the people to understand that I need to go in your building, but to shoot the other buildings, you know. So the people was, okay, but no. So I make like 20 demands, and I have only one positive. So I decided to do it like that. So, but it was really interesting because it's an amazing way to discover a country, you know, because I was going on almost every metro station, going out to see the buildings to see where I can take a picture, and I was never on the flat of the people. I was always on the security exit, you know, because on the the buildings before there was built before the 2000s. You have like exit issue, sortie de secours, or you say exit issue,
and on the security exit on the side, right?
Security exit, sorry, yeah. And you have like metals, like in prison, so you can go with your cameras, with the lens. And in between, you know. But from the newest buildings after 2000, you didn't have any more those emergency issues. So
how did you shoot there, like in the newer buildings?
I didn't shoot. I captured them, but I was obligated to go on the old building and try to find new buildings, because in some area you have old and new buildings. So I was lucky enough to find also some of the last old buildings in the new building area. So but yeah, it was a bit tricky, but it's kind of exciting, you know, when you make projects. Those kind of things.
I can imagine that.
Yeah, but there is no danger because because there is a lot of camera. So sometimes the people was coming, the guardian, and say, okay, well, what you're doing. And when I was showing the Polaroid, people didn't always showing, you know, the digital, and it was like, okay, it's nice, and it's and sometimes they just give me 10 minutes more to finish my picture. So it was a really good and a really good mood, you know. So
and I think the fact that you didn't shoot digitally, but using like a physical Polaroid, I think people would react in a completely different way.
Exactly.
You know. But were you shooting handheld, or did you use a tripod?
No, I didn't use a tripod because it was. I was always like waiting that some guardian is coming because of the camera. So I was like this, and the camera is heavy enough to be stable, you know. So
just to show it off for the audience. So you didn't use a tripod. You shot handheld, and there are no like falling or breaking lines. It's exactly straight.
Yeah, but listen, I must admit that for the post-production of the book, because we scanned all the picture, I'm kind of freaked out about the lion, the lines. Some of them we a little bit, how do you say, rebuilt the. Okay.
You straightened them a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, and it's just amazing. It's amazing, really amazing. But I think for me, like most notably, I mean, you mentioned it before. There are, of course. It's typology of the residential buildings in Hong Kong, and of course there's this people would think. No, let me start it over. It's your work is in some sense reminiscent of the work of, as you mentioned before, is Michael Wolf, and but for me it was. The most striking thing was that you approached this whole topic. I mean, there are various photographers like shooting in Hong Kong and shooting, you know, the buildings. I mean, if I would go to Hong Kong, I would definitely do exactly the same because, you know, these are the buildings to shoot, you know. And but in my view, like most striking of your work is the fact that you use those black and white Polaroids, and also you were bound to you had like a lot of restrictions, right? So you were shooting with the same lens. I mean, in your foreword, you mentioned that it was mentioned that you worked with the same lens, always the same camera. You were bound to the Polaroids, and you needed to get access to certain buildings in order to get your shot. And this was, for me, the idea of working with a lot of constraints is really amazing. So, does this is this like your usual approach, or was it just because of this of the area you were in?
No, I like those constraints. How do you say in English?
Constraints.
Constraints. Sorry.
Yeah.
And also because of the Polaroid, I didn't like retouching the picture. You know, I like to have the final result when you have it. You know, and the Polaroid is that when you open it, you know, the old one, you open it like this, you see your end result, and this is what I like it, you know. Of course, when you make a book, you make kind of balance for the black and white or color grading, just to have a kind of line, you know. But when I make an exhibition with my Polaroid, this is it, you know. This is why this is cool, because your picture is the end result. So when you expose it, there is no. This is it, and I really like that. You know, there is no retouching, no blah blah blah, and I really like this point. You know.
And I've seen. I mean, you mentioned your exhibition, and I've seen some snippets of it, and it's so. At first, it seems a bit contradictory to work with such a small format with those huge buildings, and in your exhibition, the work you showed like really consists of those Polaroids, right? There are no like prints, no enlargements. It's like the small 8x10 Polaroids. So how do people react to that? Like, are there like general reactions to it? Like,
sometimes they're a little bit in trouble, because of course they need to be like that to see the picture. But it needs like kind of bit of concentration, and which is great, because when you see a big format, okay, it's like kind of like shock in a good way, but with those mini, you need to be more focused, more concentrated, and of course I was fighting a little bit with the publisher, because those pictures we of course we try to make bigger, and it's beautiful, because the quality of this Polaroid, I repeat, is so amazing that you can have a A3 print, and with this grain, it's amazing. So I have to resist also, because I would like to keep this work like this. This is why I'm not making big prints. I only make kind of exception with the Hong Kong book, because we were speaking about skateboarding. I have the chance to make like a collaboration with a famous brand in Switzerland, and a gallery, and we make a skateboard with Polaroid from my Hong Kong neon book. And of course, we enlarge it, you know, which is great. So this is the only exception that I made, because we come from skateboarding, so we know.
Of course,
we know it, and it's always, of course, it's nice to have your own skateboard. Be honest, so this is, I make this exception for having a limited edition skateboard, but no, I really like this fact of, also because of typologic work, it's like, you know, I really like the Becher, you know, we are the most famous for the nice work they made with industrial and post-industrial, and this kind of bam, you know, like straight.
Yeah, it's like this serial, like how do you say, like serial work, always the same formats.
Yeah,
yeah. So
and also, when you make an exhibition, it's always the same format, and there's kind of a little vignette, and you can have like also constriction of family when you make, which is good. You know, it's another way of discovering the work. So I really like it. But
great.
Of course, now picture are big, so people when they go to exhibition, they say, "Oh, you know, like, well, okay, it's like postcard, you know, yeah, kind of
the format, and
better quality, but yeah."
In your book, is this the original format of the Polaroids?
Yeah,
like, is it the exact same dimensions?
Yeah, 1:1. Yeah,
it's nice.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, sorry. No. Yeah.
So yeah, like so as of today, you're selling the Hong Kong book and your Hong Kong Neon in a bundled box set, right? It's like it's limited edition to 50 copies, I think, or to 50
thank
boxes.
you for speaking about that. Yeah.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, today I launched like a special numbered box set with the 2 books, because when I was starting the project, I was hoping that the publisher was okay to make 1 book about the architecture of Hong Kong and 1 book about the neon signs of Hong Kong. It took 3 years between the project, and now the Hong Kong book was just released a few weeks ago, and we released just a 50 limited edition of numbered kind of boxes in serigraphy, which is right Hong Kong from one side, typology on the other side.
It looks so beautiful, by the way. So.
Thank you. Yeah, like really minimalist, but it works. And so the launch is today, and it's only available on my website because it's only like a really short edition, and of the 50, because that's great that we didn't have any more books, because the neon go well, and but we didn't print it in a high. We printed it 650 copies. The neon one, and the architecture, it was 800 copies. So those coffrets, numbered limited box, are almost with the last copies that the publisher and I have. But you can keep finding the book in bookshops and on the internet, but in the stocks of the publisher and my little stocks, we don't have any more copies, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, congratulations on that, right? So
thank you. Yeah, thanks.
It's perfect, amazing. And but as I understand, like the idea for your Hong Kong neon work, right, for the series on the neon signs, did it also had its roots in your Japan project? Because you mentioned in the beginning that you, which is totally understandable, like already saw those neon signs in Japan and started taking pictures of that. And is this where the idea for the Hong Kong Neon book originated, or how did this develop?
The idea was a bit the idea come with in seeing it is a bit cliche, but the Wong Kar-wai film, you know, like in The Moon for Love, Chungking Express, in the early 2000s, I discovered those films, and I discovered Hong Kong in the film of Wong Kar-wai, and also the architecture and the neon sign. So it comes from that. But I first of all was going to Japan before going to Hong Kong. So I was lucky enough to make some project in Japan. And the first time I was going in Japan, it was in 2003. But Hong Kong, it was 2009. So first of all, I discovered the neon of Japan, and mostly Hong Kong. Tokyo, and Hong Kong was years after. So it was because of Wong Kar-wai's film.
Okay. So you saw the film, and then you came up with the idea to travel back to Hong Kong and finish this.
Exactly.
So, and what's up, like in your trailer on your neon work, neon series, you showed that, oh no, like a huge involvement in your series is that they are like the two last remaining masters of neon signs. Like,
Yeah.
what's up with that? Like, why did you incorporate those into the narrative of your book, basically?
Because it is like a art, artistic or artisanal technique, which are despairing, you know. So we are losing kind of aesthetic, cultural, visual identity of Hong Kong. So for me, it was like normal to interview and to film those last master, because the work they are doing is amazing. You know, you see them like I have the chance to meet one of the last master craftsman of you know, buying neon with like the glass, like,
it's like
with the fire. Yeah. And the other that I interview, it's one of the main calligrapher, you know. He's like famous in Hong Kong. He made like hundreds of how do you say, posters for Hong Kong cinema, you know. And he made like more than 1,000 neon signs, and his technique is so beautiful. So calligraphy is not disappearing, of course, but neon for different reasons, you know, for because of when Hong Kong was giving back to China, end of in 1997, quite fast, Hong Kong make a new rule that all the neon that are more than 4 meters need to be putting down because of the typhoon. But the typhoons are here since decade and years and years, you know. So they say that for economic reason and security reason, now the big one need to be putting down, and almost of them are big. And other people are saying that this is political reason, because all those neon signs are in traditional Chinese. And the traditional Chinese is only speaking now, it's only speak now in Hong Kong and in Taiwan, which are kind of the enemy of, not enemy, but China tried to come back with. So now Hong Kong is China, because they have a new security law that you cannot manifest, you cannot protest. There is kind of totalitarianism, unfortunately. And the next episode is with Taiwan, because China said that Taiwan is China. So Chinese traditional is only speaking mainly in, I repeat, Hong Kong and Taiwan, and all those signs, I repeat, are in traditional Chinese. And all over the world, the Chinese which you speak is the simplified Chinese, you know. So some people say that this is kind of dead of the Hong Kong identity, you know, the cultural and visual identity. So it's kind of like, for some people it's kind of genocide, you know, with the cultural point of view, with the visual. So it's quite interesting what's going on, but it's kind of really sad, you know, because
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
No. It started to be like a aesthetic project, and now a lot of this is great, because a lot of the media was talking about my book, not because of my work, but because of what's happened with the neon signs, which is
I mean, it's really important. So like a part of history.
Yeah, of course. So this book was now is kind of more of piece of archive, you know, because I started in 2012 in the same time with the architectural project. So the day I was shooting the architecture, in the night I was changing the back with color film, and I ended the project in 2019. So I've shot
Oh, so
8 years.
you shot the architecture series and the neon series like simultaneously.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, okay.
During
Yeah,
the day, I put the back with the black and white film,
yeah.
and during the night, I was changing with the color film, and yeah, and
And
so
did
that,
you?
and now
And
there is like for the last 15 years, more than 92% of the neon was like they disappear. So, and I ask people who are trying to take care of the neon sign because the government didn't care about it, and they told me that more than 2/3 of the neon that are in my book doesn't exist anymore. So
oh, okay.
yeah, this is kind of
Crazy.
really not good and really sad
Yeah.
what's happening in Hong
But
Kong.
and did you especially search? I mean, you said that like the biggest signs, like which were written in was it traditional Chinese?
Yeah, all of them
Or,
are almost
oh,
in
all of them.
tradition. Yeah, yeah.
But the biggest signs, like, were you especially looking for the ones you thought would, be banished or vanish over time, or like
No,
what was your intention, like with the signs, like how did you make your decision to,
no,
you know?
because I was going in Hong Kong one time a year during one
Yeah,
month.
yeah,
When I shoot some neon signs, when I come back 1 year after, I said that why they disappear. So I was searching on internet the reason, and this is why I discovered these rules, legislation,
mhm.
and no, I was trying to shoot all the neon that I can. It was
Everything you could.
there was no
Yeah,
selection, you know.
yeah.
And yeah, I read that a person said that there is a seat dedicated to the last remaining
Yeah.
Hong Kong. Yeah, it was called like Neon Signs of Hong Kong. It was made by the M Plus Museum, which is the biggest museum in Hong Kong, who is not really open because he has like 5 years delay of construction,
Mhm.
and they made a little project with neon signs, so they preserved 3 or 4, but
Yeah.
after they just changed the project.
Ah,
So
he just wrote
yeah, because
like
the
that.
two
Yeah,
main the people who are curator,
yeah.
they leave. You know, one is in
Ah,
the head
okay.
of a new fantastic contemporary museum
Mhm.
in on the island of Hong Kong in an old prison, and the other one is in another country right now. So they started with a really nice project, but they just stop it few months after. But the website, yeah, is really well done because people at that time in 2014, I remember, can take a picture and put the neon on a map on the website. So
Ah,
they
okay.
make
Yeah.
it well, but unfortunately, it was just one shot, you know.
Okay. But
Yeah.
the site, as you said, is not in use anymore, right?
No, but
So
it's still
it's
online.
okay, okay.
If you write on Google Hong Kong neon signs, normally you go you can find it. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's like it was Andreas Maas, who's a photographer who I featured like a couple of weeks ago, I think. He shot in Hong Kong as well. Um, and he just, when I scroll up, like he wrote interesting work, tuning in as I'm working on a big Hong Kong series myself. And we started chatting a bit, and he mentioned that he's also working on a book, and like his work is also really great. And
I'm gonna
so
check.
yeah, obviously he wrote, obviously many of the spots are disappearing. So
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's really great that you. I mean, you started photographing those neon signs out of like natural habit, right? From like out of curiosity and fascination, and it's fantastic to see that it actually turned out to be such an important work in the end, right? Because now it's like an archive of the almost completely disappeared neon
Yeah.
signs in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
and also like an archive of the craft and the dedication that went into creating those neon signs. And it's like lucky hand, I would say.
Yeah.
Oh, are you still? Oh, yeah, he's still there.
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah. So sometimes you start project and it come another project, you know, or or another mood or vision, and I really like that the way that this project was rebuilt because of what's happened in Hong Kong, you know, because I really love Hong Kong, the people, the country, and of course what's happened also on a political point of view. It's kind of shocking for us in living in a democratic way, you know, and also, as you say, when you lose political reason or not, like craftsman, like really deep artistic stuff, those kind of work, it's kind of losing for humanity, not in you know, because
it's a great loss.
In all of the country, you have like different essence, different experiences, different art, and we need to keep them alive, you know. And I think kind of our work as an artist is sometimes also to put the point on some of those stuff, because it's important for us, you know.
Absolutely. Well, what better way or what better notion to end the stream there? I mean, so now we're making a point. You made your point, and yeah. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for taking some time.
Thank you for your invitation.
Yeah, absolutely. And so again, this is one of your books. Unfortunately, I don't have the other one here, so I would show them. But of course, I will upload the video later in IGTV, and then I will include like links to your book set and to your portfolio as well. And yeah, thank you so much for the talk.
Yeah, and thank you again for your invitation. I really appreciate so. Yeah, and sure. keep going. I know sometimes it's difficult for us as you know, as an artist and as artists, you know, in Korea. So we need to keep going and to continue our work and our creation. Even sometimes it's difficult. So yeah.
Absolutely. I'll try my best, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some like further amazing works coming from you.
Thank you.
And Andreas wrote Andreas made a small book in 2013. Now a big one I shot in 2017 as I stayed there for 6 months. We'll check the book out for sure. Please do that. It's amazing.
I'm going to also check. Yeah. Thank you, Andreas. I'm going to check your work also, of course.
Cool. All right, so I'll say goodbye.
Yeah.
And thank you again for your time, and we talk to each other.
Thank you.
Take care, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ciao.